there are so many people across Canada who have been separated from loved ones uh, related to the COVID-19 border closures. And there are a lot of people who have just lost their job and are out of work. And there is no industry that has been more impacted by this than the airline industry. And I'm joined today by Jeff Banks, who represents a very large group of workers who are pilots, actually. And I really just wanted to share Jeff's story with you and the story of the people he represents, because to me, we have to be starting to talk about a better way than just full shutdown. So, Jeff, do you want to tell folks a little bit about what's happening with the group of people that you're representing and some of the things that you're asking for?
Sure. To give everyone a little idea of who I am, I've spent 18 years in the airline industry working as a pilot. And the last time I flew an airplane was the end of March of this year. And that flight was bringing a bunch of passengers back from Mexico, back home to Canada. But in addition to our passengers, we had a handful of Canadians who were hitching a free ride home, who were just desperate to come home. It was a great moment to be able to bring Canadians home. And I think it showed the importance that having a Canadian aviation industry provides to our country. And that's the last time I flew. And the reason for that is because of the quarantine measures that have been in place and have grounded airlines and led to tens of thousands of layoffs in the industry and led to many Canadians being separated from their loved ones abroad. And so what we've really been asking ourselves is there a better way to do this as opposed to a 14-day quarantine, which keeps planes grounded, which keeps families separated? And I think the answer is yes. We've been looking around and, we only need to look as far as Germany for a country that has eliminated the quarantine in favor of testing on arrival and has kept COVID cases per capita equal to or less than what we have here in Canada. So there is a better way. It's out there. What we've been missing is leadership from the federal government over the last 7 months to put a plan in place and to follow that plan and to get something better going.
Yeah, and what you're saying is very reasonable to me, because you're not saying, like, let's just open the border and do nothing or eliminate the quarantine requirement. You're saying there's best practices around the world that involves testing either before you leave and after you leave, or after you arrive, some combination thereof, and it's using rapid testing technology. Your union, you guys have been doing this research, and you know that there's other countries that have been deploying it, yet we haven't seen any movement yet on that front here in Canada.
That's absolutely right. I mean, it might sound cheesy to say, but in aviation, we always say safety is our number one priority. And that's very much the case here. The safety of Canadians during this pandemic is top of mind for all of us in the industry. We want to keep Canadians safe. What we need as well, though, is a way that is safe and sustainable. And the 14-day quarantine isn't sustainable. It's not sustainable for the travel and tourism industry. It's definitely not sustainable for the tens of thousands of employees who are struggling to pay mortgages. And it's not sustainable for Canadians who are separated from their loved ones across the globe. And so we need to find a way that's both safe and sustainable. And you're right, it's out there. Rapid testing is a solution. It's a solution that's been put in place around the world. It's been a way to keep case counts low, but while allowing travel to resume. And that's the key is we need a safe way for travel to resume, and we need it to be a sustainable way. And rapid testing on arrival is a way to do it. It can be put in place quickly. The technology already exists. The science is there to support it. The only thing missing is leadership from the federal government on this issue.
Yeah, and I think that you raise a really good point, because the 14-day quarantine is something that I don't know any Canadian can afford. And I'm thinking recently there was a story in Ottawa about a woman who was working at a long-term care facility. She couldn't afford to be away from her job. Now, I want to be clear, we all need to follow the rules right now, but she left the quarantine early. I have to wonder, how much better public health outcomes we could have if we had rapid testing, if everybody was tested. I know that there's exemptions right now. I know that there's issues with compliance, like the story that I just mentioned. And I guess as a parliamentarian, what's frustrating for me is that the federal government has given no indication that they're even looking at this as a viable alternative. I really appreciate what you guys are saying. You're saying it's like, look, we need a better plan. We need a way forward that's sustainable. I know there's been a lot of talk with the airline carriers about a potential bailout, but that's really, without this policy change, that's really just a drop in the bucket, and it's not sustainable. Do you want to talk a little bit about that and like the long-term forecast for your industry?
Well, absolutely. I mean, for us, the key is we just want to go back to work. And international travel is a huge component of the Canadian aviation industry. For us to go back to work, we need to find a better way than quarantines. And so, yes, as an industry, we've been asking for low interest loans, something that's not a bailout, but is a financial support for the industry to help get us through these times. As employees, we've been asking for a continuation of the wage subsidy, especially for furloughed employees. And unfortunately, this week we're seeing a drop in the amount being provided to furloughed employees by the government. So it's just another kick in the pants for employees that are already down. But the key is the only reason we're having to ask for wage subsidies and the only reason we're having to ask for financial support is because there's a government policy in place that's kept the majority of Canadian airplanes grounded, and that's the 14-day quarantine. So if we can find a better way around the quarantines, we help fix the issue of financial support and we help fix the issue of employee wage support. That's the key. We need to get flying. We want to get flying. And in order to do so, we need a better way in terms of quarantines, and rapid testing is that solution. I think Canadians have to ask themselves, what is it that we want at the borders? And I think the answer is we want to detect cases of COVID-19 as early as possible so that we eliminate the chance of unintentional spread in the community. As you said, people are quarantining, but it's mainly on the honor system. We don't know if they're running out quickly to get groceries or deciding that they're going to go for a walk. And so if we can capture those cases and detect them at the earliest possible moment, and if we can help the international community with international contact tracing, which is a key recommendation of the World Health Organization right now, that benefits everybody. And if you test somebody the second they walk off an airplane in Canada, they know if they're positive or negative, if they need to quarantine, or if they can go and contribute to the Canadian economy and reconnect with their family and all the wonderful things that we want them to do. I don't think there gets to be a better solution than that. Rapid tests are out there. They've been proven to be effective. Other countries are using them and using them well while keeping case counts below what we're seeing here in Canada. It's just a matter of willpower of the government, and they need to come forward and say, this is what we want to do. This is how we're going to do it. And it's been 7 months, and unfortunately, we haven't seen anything like that from them.
Absolutely. So that's where I come in. I've been trying to push the government to at least look at this issue, right? We have put forward a motion at the Health Committee that would encompass a study on this. We're looking to compel documents related to this so that we're making sound policy decisions based on science. And certainly there's a lot of best practice that we could be reviewing and dealing with in short order, especially as people are thinking about, wanting to reunite with family members over the holiday season, thinking about loved ones. It might be their last Christmas. We need to keep people safe. So we are continuing to push on that, Jeff, and I've got a couple more tricks up my sleeve this week. But I think it's really important for people who are watching this to understand that what you're asking for, and I think so many Canadians are asking for, is you're not asking for anything special. You're saying, look, we want to keep people safe, but we also want to get back to work, and we have to deal with this reality rather than just looking at economic shutdown and a 14-day quarantine that people just can't afford. So I really appreciate the advocacy that you've been bringing forward. My heart goes out to everybody that you represent, all of the aviation workers, and you certainly have our support in terms of pushing for answers on this. Thank you so much for sharing your message today, and perhaps we'll have you back on the show at some point to celebrate some positive changes. So thanks so much, Jeff.
Thank you very much for all the support and the work you've been doing. It's appreciated by all of us. And yes, I would love to have a celebration on the show at some
Absolutely.
point. We're keeping our fingers crossed for you because, like you said, Christmas is coming, and there's no better way for it to be celebrated than a way for Canadians to be reunited with their friends and family across the world. And rapid testing is the way for us to do it. So thank you again.
Thanks so much, Jeff. Have a great day.
Thanks, you too.